Have you guys forgotten any of the modes on this list? Well, in this video, I'll be telling you guys 10 forgotten modes and the actual best of the forgotten modes of this game. So if you guys enjoyed this video, thanks for watching the video, guys. Alright, so coming in 10th place is going to be Azarashi Z2 spec. Now, the reason why this is going to be coming in 10th place is because Azarashi Z2, I don't really see anyone use it anymore, but it actually is an M1 combo extender, and they actually did fix the ability so you can't dash during it anymore. So I do feel like Azarashi Z2 is actually a lot better than it used to be, and you know, I do think it deserves 10th place on this list because I don't think it's the best forgotten mode of the game, but it definitely isn't a bad one. I would also like to say that Azarashi Z1 actually did get buffed, so I'll show you guys the Z1 spec too. I don't think it's as good as the Z2 spec, but it's like a dash ability. It has no end lag now, so you now can combo some with it. There's not really much else to say about Azarashi Z2. I just feel like it's a, you know, pretty good, pretty underrated mode. Alright, so coming in 9th place is going to be Pikasenko mode. Yes, you heard that correctly, Pikasenko mode. Now, Pikasenko mode is going to be coming in 9th place because I do actually feel like Pikasenko mode, it's a pretty good mode, all things considered. I mean, the stats it gives you is pretty good. It only drains 25 a second. The C spec is an iframe. The Q spec is an iframe. It's basically just an iframe spam sort of mode. And I do feel like it's kind of overshadowed by the other C modes in the game because people really look at this mode and they're like, why would I ever use this when I could just use, you know, a different mode? But the reason why is because it actually does have a ton of iframes. You know, the web spec is literally just an auto dodge itself, and the C spec, it allows you to avoid damage. And as I said before, the stats on the mode are actually quite insane, all things considered. Coming in 8th place is going to be Shiver Akuma. Now, I know some of you guys have actually been using Shiver Akuma, so you guys know how good this mode actually is. I'm just going to start off by doing this. Weapon spec. Yep, yeah, the weapon spec actually does around 60,000 damage of weapon spec, and it's only a 15-second cooldown. Also, I gotta say, the C spec is mainly meant for running away. I do think the C spec is really, really good just for RPG in general, but I do feel like the thing that shines about this mode is the weapon spec, because it actually is a true combo extender. It also is just a really, really good, just low cooldown damaging weapon spec. I'm pretty sure it also block breaks too. And yeah, there's not really much else to say about Shiver Akuma. It's just that, honestly. The coming in 7th place is going to be Akuma C6 mode. Now, Akuma C6 is actually one that I have not seen that many people use at all. Now, the reason for this is because it's kind of just overshadowed by the other, you know, Susanos of the game, but it actually doesn't have knockback anymore, just like all the other Susanos. The actual C spec, this is the reason why I actually put it this high up on the list. The C spec does 90,000 damage, and as long as they don't block the start of it, it is actually unavoidable. So I do feel like Akuma C7 mode, it's really good against teamers, especially. I do feel like after the buffs, it is actually a pretty decent mode. The coming in 6th place is going to be Shock Cloak. Yes, Shock Cloak. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but someone made me a face on Twitter. It's supposed to be me. You know, my actual face. I think it's pretty cool. So Shock Cloak, the Z2, I would recommend never using the Z2. There's no reason to. The Z1's just better. But the Z1, boom, actually has 0 end lag and actually ragdolls them now, so you can actually combo extend with it. That's for the fact that I'm pretty sure this is one of the highest stat modes in the entire game, and it's a Z spec, so you know, that's pretty insane. But it does have a weird mode drain. I think it drains like, what is that? Let me see. It drains 22 a second, so you know, it's a pretty odd number, but you know, that doesn't really matter. And as I said before, it does a lot of damage on the Z spec. It is combo extendable, high stats. It honestly is just a really, really good Z spec. Hey you, yeah you, have you remembered to hit that like button on the video yet? If you haven't already, go ahead and do it. Now coming to 5th place is going to be Demonic Spirit. Now this is one that I have seen people use, but overall it kind of just has fell out. Now the reason why I actually do think it is a it also damage stacks apparently. Do you guys see that? Demonic Spirit apparently damage stacks. That's new to me, but yeah, Demonic Spirit just kind of fell out of the meta just because there's been so many new stuns introduced, but it still is a Z spec, a super long stun. The AoE on it is massive. It's like a Bankai Genjutsu AoE on a Z spec, so it is a pretty good ability. I mean, there's not really much else to say about it. It's just a pretty good stun, and yeah, if you guys want a stun in your combo, just throw Demonic Spirit in. Now coming to 4th place is going to be Wanziyame mode. Now Wanziyame mode, this is one that a lot of people haven't really, you know, they haven't been in tune with that much. So in case you guys are unaware, the actual Z spec, it's a lot larger now. The Z spec actually drains chi for people as you M1 them, and it's not a small amount of chi. It is a very, very, very large amount of chi. That's for the fact that you get a speed boost. You know, there's a bunch of cool thing about Wanziyame mode that is actually, you know, pretty good. I think the only downside to it is that, you know, it has very low stats, especially for being a Z spec. But I do feel like if someone is an M1 combo user and then they actually throw the Z spec into it, it would actually prevent them from being able to do anything besides just try to perfect block out and try to just charge your chi afterwards, because I mean it when I say this thing drains a lot of chi. Like, you use Z spec and then you go up, start doing an M1 combo on them, and they can't even escape you. you because of all the absolute massive amount of slow. They could probably block double jump maybe, but I don't know. Wazayame mode is a lot better than it used to be, especially after the buffs, and it even was pretty good beforehand as well. Solid 4th place. And the coming in 3rd place is going to be one of the most forgotten modes in the game, Ryan Akuma mode. Now, as soon as the 3rd ability got nerfed, people actually just stopped entirely using Ryan Akuma, but the mode was never touched. Also, by the way, the mode actually does have the non-knockback M1s. That is a buff that it actually got. The Z-spec is still an iframe. It's still mode drains. It's still, you know, it's still an insanely long-lasting iframe. The weapon spec is literally the old 3rd ability. So, I mean, it still has all the iframes it used to. The mode, I do feel like the mode is still an extreme powerhouse of a mode. I actually do still use it sometimes myself, and I actually feel like Ryan Akuma is a mode that just fell out because the actual Bloodline itself got nerfed, but the mode was actually only buffed. So I don't know, it's up to you. It's up to your interpretation of how you feel, you know, modes of this game should be, but it's an iframe spam mode that also drains mode from them, and actually it's just really good stats as well because, you know, it's an Akuma. Now coming in 2nd place, it could be Demonic Gate Spirit. Now the reason why this is gonna be 2nd place because it is extremely versatile. I forget whether it's C6 or C4, but it does have a Z spec that when you click on someone, it actually is a true combo extender, so you can immediately use an ability after this ends, and you actually can extend combos that way. It also does have all of these other abilities. I'm not going to go through and show all of them because you guys have probably, you know, seen them, or maybe you haven't because it actually is a forgotten mode. But I do feel like Demon Gate Spirit, it's pretty insane if you actually know how to use it. I've seen someone that has been absolutely smack worthy, like they just slapped everyone with Demonic Spirit, but I do feel like the 8th mode is kind of lackluster, which is why people don't really use it because they usually think the final mode or the 2nd to final mode is the best. But I do feel like for Demonic Spirit, it's just kind of the versatility of it, and not to mention the fact that it actually is a Taijutsu based mode, so, you know, not everyone likes Taijutsu in this game. But overall, I do feel like Demonic Spirit has a lot going for it, especially with the versatility, just the, you know, the combo output that actually has. Like, I'll show you for example. So I just did that. I just did the Z-spec. You can immediately use something like Ryan Barrage into another combo. I've seen a lot of people use Demonic Spirit, not really as much as soon as Ryuji was released, but it still is a really good mode. Now, Honor Wretched 1 is going to be Giovanni Shizen. Yes, Giovanni Shizen. Now, Giovanni Shizen is going to be Honor Wretched 1 because it actually did get buffed. The M1's no longer knock back before the full M1 combo. If you guys don't know how big of a buff that is, that's pretty major because look at this range. That is full Susanoo range right there, and I know I said it wrong. Go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. That is extremely long. That is massive range. Like, if they start casting a hand sign, you're like, nope. You're like, oh, you want to cast a hand sign? Nope. But not only that, but the C-spec also is quite a high damage ability. The reason why nobody used it before is because the mode drain was so high, but they actually did reduce the mode drain as well. So Giovanni Shizen is actually like really good right now. Like, I can see people absolutely spamming this mode, especially in team fights, because just because the absolute insane damage, insane AoE this mode actually has now. Now, Honor Wretched 2 is going to be Karada. Now, I'm not going to say anything beforehand. You guys are going to figure this out on your own. Yeah, that just did almost 100,000 damage in one ability. Also, the M1s are actually extended, so they actually do more damage, and, you know, the normal buffed M1s. So not really much to say about it, just massive damage C-spec. That's literally the only reason. By the way, guys, what is your favorite forgotten mode? What is a mode that you use that almost nobody else uses? For your tip of comments below, we'll be checking them out. The coming in first place is going to be Akuma Eternal Hand. Yes, you heard that correctly. Akuma Eternal Hand. Now, Akuma Eternal Hand, I do feel like it's kind of an iffy mode in my opinion because it actually only drains 10 a second, but the stats are low. I feel like what they should do is increase the stats and increase the mode drain because 10 mode drain is pretty broken for having a second life. But yeah, it also has a Z spec, so the Z spec is actually a counter, so it's a counter, not an actual counter cooldown. So you guys know how good counters are in the meta. There's not really anything else about it. You know, it has a second life. It drains barely anything a second, so you could stack it with other modes. Like if you stack this with a just, you know, let's just say Shindai Akuma C3, it drains less mode than some modes in this game. 2 modes together, and you get a counter and you get a second life. So I do feel like Akuma Eternal Hand, it has a lot going for it, especially because, you know, it is a Z spec, so it doesn't really override your bloodline slot unless you want to use something like Ryuji. And I do actually feel like this is the single best forgotten mode in the game. I do know that people have been actually using this recently, but not enough people because it is kind of broken. And guys, that's the video. Guys, enjoyed this video. Let's go, guys. Bye bye.